This conference will now be recorded.
Hello everyone. Good morning to all of you. I welcome you all to the second day of 1 week online FTP on exploring data mining and machine learning applications organized by Department of Computer Science and Engineering, G. Pullareddy Engineering College, Kurnool. It is a great honor for me to introduce the resource person of today's session, Dr. Lata Parthiban, Head of the Department of Computer Science, Pondicherry University Community College. Dr. Lata Parthiban has completed her ME from Anna University and PhD from Pondicherry University. She has a vast professional experience of over 26 years in the teaching field, where she worked under various capacities in engineering colleges in Chennai, including 8 years at Pondicherry University Community College. She has published 109 papers in various international journals, indexed in reputed databases such as SCI, Scopus, and many more. She has guided 18 scholars towards completion of PhD till now. She has been bestowed with Best Paper Award in IEEE Conference, IAMA 2009 and NCASG 2013. She is editor-in-chief of International Journal of Human-Machine Interface of Artificial Intelligence, Association of India. She has completed 3 research projects sponsored by CSI, NVIDIA, and MHRD. She has reviewed sponsored project proposal for SEC Science Foundation, one of the leading scientific organizations in the world. She has also reviewed papers for many international journals, including IEEE, Elsewhere, Springer Link, and many more. She has completed a postdoctoral fellowship and has filed for 3 patents. She has presented over 60 papers in various conferences and has given over 50 invited talks. I sincerely feel that with her vast teaching and research experience, the participants would be benefited a lot with her inputs in machine learning applications in medical data analysis. Now, I would like to invite Dr. Lata Parthiban Madam to take over the session. Over to you, Madam.
Yeah, thank you. I would like to thank the organizers for giving me this opportunity to meet you all in this faculty development program. Actually, we all are facing some sort of exhaustion in this pandemic situation. Everywhere in Pondicherry also we have the same situation. In Tamil Nadu, everywhere in India we are facing some situation where we are feeling slightly slight tension is there everywhere. Actually, if you see, this machine learning is going to help us all out in many of the situations we are going to face in medical data analysis. Just a minute, I will share the screen. Can you all see my screen?
Yes, madam.
You can enter into the slideshow. F5.
Just a minute. Is it okay? Is it shared or what?
The screen is visible, madam. If you just go into the full screen. F5.
Okay, fine. Just a minute. Just so very good morning to all. I think you are able to see my screen. Today, the topic given to me is machine learning in data analysis. Medical data analysis specifically is an area which has lot of new information coming out whenever we do analysis. Basically, in today's session, I would like to give an introduction about machine learning and go into some case studies. Some of the work what I have done. So the goal of machine learning is to build the computer systems that can adapt and learn from their experience. This is a quote given by Tom Deitrich, who is one of the leading person in medical data analysis. Machine learning, if you see, like we will be seeing some case studies where we will be looking into a lot of things which is difficult for the doctors to analyze by naked eye. Okay. Machine learning, you have machines and computer programs are capable of solving problems like our human brain, and we find its use in natural language processing, pattern recognition, visual perception, and decision making. Machine learning has found application in all areas. Everywhere we are using machine learning as of today, and it is one of the exciting areas for development of computational approach to automatically make sense of the data. Without human intervention, the machine is learning and it is changing accordingly. Like a human brain, it is acting. Fine. What is the main advantage of machine learning? The main advantage is you can very well see that lot of information is retained in the machine. It is capable of storing huge amount of data which we are not able to do. And over a time, when it receives lot of data, historical data, the machine becomes more and more intelligent, and it starts working like a human brain. Compared to our human brain, which is susceptible to sleep and all these things, machines are not susceptible to any sleep deprivation or distractions or information overloading or short-term memory loss. These are all the advantages of machine doing the work for us. So we can very well see that machine learning is a lot of algorithms are coming out, and machine learning we are trying to improve all our technological innovations in machine learning. That's what is happening with you can very well see with advancement of deep learning, etc., etc. Machine learning we mainly use for classification problem, computer vision, medical outcome analysis, robotics control, and computational biology. And as of today, we can say that all areas are using machine learning algorithms. So the main aim of researchers working today on machine learning is to improve the algorithms, improve the data capture, so that the data analysis done is going to be giving better accuracy, fast computing. Some of the problems we encounter is the software used here is very difficult to write by hand, and there are a lot of development of new sensors and IO devices coming in. And latest is all of us know that for the past 4 to 5 years, deep learning has taken over machine learning. Everywhere we are using. Some of the common applications we see in machine learning are face recognition, character recognition. All these are used in understanding the person. A lot of forgeries are going in and handwriting and with a style. It can easily, machine learning can easily understand whether it belongs to the same person or not. Similarly, speech recognition, which is this itself is a separate field with a temporal dependency, and dictionary or syntax of the language is used. Many universities like IIT Madras, many places, they have separate labs for this speech recognition. And in medical diagnosis, we analyze from symptom to illness, we can easily find out whether the person has a specific illness or not. And autonomous vehicle driving is another important application of machine learning. In astronomical structures and games also, we use machine learning as of today. So we can see that machine learning is a confluence of many fields. It is not just computer science, it is a confluence of many other fields which has evolved over time. So we use a lot of statistics for analysis in machine learning. With AI, we developed the brain models, which behaves like a human brain with a lot of biological neurons. And in control theory, we use it. This human performance modeling, it is a psychology, obviously, and it is obviously our machine learning. We can say that it is a part of AI, and many evolutionary models have been developed with the machine learning algorithms. And so we can say that machine learning is a confluence of many other areas. In medical diagnosis, what we try to do is machine is made to learn the parameters like the patient's symptoms, behavior, biochemical or pathological variables, and you can have a lot of attributes, and try to identify the illness. So we have specially designed the software using which the computer can learn it over time. We have a lot of learning algorithms, supervised learning, unsupervised learning is there, which helps the machine to learn, and over a period of time it becomes a human brain. Obviously, a lot of models are developed inside, and over a period of time it tries to recognize what ailment is there in the patient. So we can say that machine learning helps in diagnosis, and we can very well see that over a period of time the diagnostic accuracy has improved. The sensitivity, specificity, everything are some of the metrics we use for understanding the accuracy of the system. Main problem we encounter in machine learning is how well the algorithms perform. Over a period of time, we can very well say that the older algorithms, initially when we had this machine learning concept, we were just taking the input, pre-processing was done. Usually with all these data, from where it is taken is, we take an image, from the image we extract our required features. So we can, if the unless otherwise the image is going to be good, our data will not be accurate. So pre-processing has to be done on all the data that is going to be taken from the image, and then only then we'll be getting a proper output. So all these things have been taken care. So the data that is given for analysis is going to be more accurate. Only then our output will be fine. In all our machine learning, we have whenever we create a model, we have two phases. One is the training phase and the testing phase. Training phase, we take some amount of data, and testing phase, we take some amount of data. Training data is nothing but the data using which we are going to train the model we have created. See, like our human brain, we are having input output, and that is going to train the model what we have created using the neural network or whatever it is. So after creating the model using the training data, we will test it with the testing data, which is not common with the training data. So it is going to be a new set of data given, and then we try to validate the model what we have created. So we can very well see that huge amount of data is going to be required. We cannot just say that I have only 100 data. With that 100 data, I have created a model. So what happens is, if we have very less amount of data, the accuracy of the system is going to be very poor because it is not trained well. So what has happened is, over a period of time, the data is going to increase. With the amount of data increasing, the model what we are creating is going to become more and more intelligent. So once the system what we are creating is intelligent, it is going to give us a very good result. So when we design this model, we have to take care that sufficient training data is going to be there. Similarly, the system should give a good result only if the data is going, input data what we are getting from an image or some other system is going to be proper. All these things should be taken care. That is, pre-processing on the data has to be done in a proper manner. We have problems like in classification, we have problems like underfitting, good fitting, and overfitting. We can say that, we can very well see that, see in this you can see that this represent one class and this represent another class. Underfitting is, we try to separate these two classes by just linear method. Now here we have the underfitting problem, because all this part and this part are going to be lost. You will not get a good accurate system. You have a good fit here, because we can very well see that even though it is non-linear, it is we can easily create this non-linear model. The separation we can easily create. This is overfitting, because we can very well see that so much curves, the mathematical thing that is going to be developed is going to be difficult. So we should look into the classification in such a way that, say, there are some problems that can be easily solved by linear regression itself. Non-linear means we have to look into models so that there is a good fitting in the model that is going to be developed. That has to be taken care. So See, in today's session, what I am planning to inform is like we are trying to develop a computer-aided diagnosis system using a coactive neurofuzzy inference system. Coactive neurofuzzy inference system, in MATLAB you can see that. ANFIS adaptive neurofuzzy inference system. This was developed by a scientist called Zhang in the year 1997. He has developed a neurofuzzy inference system, ANFIS. If you put ANFIS edit in MATLAB, you will be landing up in the GUI. So we have taken that ANFIS and then we have developed a CANFIS, which is coactive neurofuzzy inference system. I'll be talking about it later. So this is the system what we have developed, coactive neurofuzzy inference system, and with that we have used some genetic optimization there. We have worked on 5 medical data sets and we have arrived at the result which I would like to share with you. So like one more thing, as I told you, in giving input and getting output from a machine is going to be of much use, but if the input data is not properly refined, then we'll end up in problem. For that only, whatever data that has been taken is from image. So the last part I have done some image processing, and with that image pre-processing, when I extracted the data from that image, it was giving a better accuracy, very slight delta X accuracy compared to the images with some problem, with slight distortions. We have lot of interference coming in all data extraction systems. So this is what I am planning to do today. So this computer-aided diagnosis is nothing but a procedure in medicine to assist the doctor for interpreting the medical images. It is a field that has grown over the year, and it integrates image processing, pattern recognition, and lot of artificial intelligence techniques. And you know, you have lot of stages here. With these stages, what they, each and every stage, the data that is taken out should be proper, otherwise we will land up in less accuracy. So we have to take care that whenever we do future extraction, the image should be free of distortions. Similarly, we will be taking a lot of features. We may not be needing all the features for because some of the features are interrelated. So in that case, what we try to do is we will try to take only one feature. So we will be doing some feature selection. So when we do this feature selection, the attributes that is going to be fed into the model we have developed is going to be less, and so the speed of the system increases. See, in systems where we deal with satellite images and all, it works, it takes the data and give output for months together. So the reason is a lot of attributes are taken and then analyzed. So in medical analysis, unless otherwise we need all the inputs, we take the attributes correspondingly. In most cases, it is found that many attributes are correlated and some attributes can be removed. So we have used this feature selection also, and we have computed the efficiency of the system. In any computer-aided system, you have, this is the first stage, pre-processing. See, for example, fine needle aspirant, the main thing is FNA image pre-processing is what we have done. So we don't go in for invasive model initially when we see a patient. We try to take the blood sample, outside symptoms. Whenever a person has problems, we just take a blood sample and then we make some analysis. Person has some cancer related or it reflects in the blood. So we don't go in for immediate invasive procedure without doing the initial analysis. So we have taken some blood samples and then we have analyzed it. So with that, segmentation is done, features are extracted. Features means obviously the necessary features are taken and then from that data, we have used this coactive neurofuzzy inference system. And then, you know, this is a neural network. It is a model, what we have developed. It is a neurofuzzy genetic model, what we have developed. And then the diagnostic output is given. So this also, over a period of time when we give the data in, with a lot of inputs feed, a lot of samples given into the model that is developed, we found that the system is slowly improving its accuracy. Many radiologists are using the models like this, so that, you know, whatever samples they are getting, when they are feeding it in the model, they were able to get a proper result over a period of time. In the olden days, we did not have this computer aid, but now we can very well see that a lot of support is given by this machine learning algorithms for making diagnosis. So this is some of the literature review what we have done. So this is the person who developed Zhang in 1997, developed this neurofuzzy hybrid. He has written a book on this also. You know, a lot of PG students as on day is having this subject with this book, and it's this model what he has developed. You know, lot of variants have been created, and in all fields they are using this application. You know, like it is just you can imagine it to be a neurofuzzy model. You have a black box and input and output are going to be taken. The model that was developed by Zhang was having lot of inputs but only one output. This is one of the I will say that, like in most of the problems his model was working fine, but he is able to create only one output. So this is the major disadvantage the system has. So then after this, in 2002, DENFIS was developed, where you know, dynamically the system was evolving with inputs and sigmoid. So many variants have developed over a period of time, and lot of you know, lot of papers in IEEE you can see on this ANFIS model. After this, you know, like in 2018, this CANFIS model came into existence, where you have many inputs and many outputs can be analyzed at the same time. You know, in many problems, we don't have just one input, one output. We will be having many outputs. In system which has only one output, it was able to diagnose properly. This ANFIS model was working fine. But when we had a lot of outputs to be taken care, we went in for this CANFIS model, which is used today also with great accuracy. In this machine learning algorithm for medical application, lot of research groups have come. I have just written some 6 groups which are leading in the world, like Applied Artificial Research Group from Stanford University, Pattern Recognition Labs from Netherlands, Cancer International Research Group from Canada, Neurofuzzy Systems in Human Related Science Group. Actually, all these groups, IACR is an Indian group, all these groups are working on medical diagnosis, and all are using machine learning algorithms. So in this, I have given some research objective we have taken. We have used this coactive neurofuzzy inference system. It was giving less complex. And one more thing, we have introduced one genetic optimization here. Parameters, whatever parameter we are taking, we have optimized the parameters, and tuning we have done by using one series. Initially, random numbers were taken and tuned. We have used one series which was giving a better result, and some image pre-processing we have done by using contourlet transform, and we have applied to the standard databases. We have used UCI machine learning repository for the analysis. The ANFIS architecture, as I told, it was developed by Zhang in the year 1997. It was just rule-based. We can see that it has 5-layer architecture. It is just a 5-layered architecture where X and Y are considered as inputs. So with the layer 1, X is A1 and Y is B1, then the output F will be this P1X plus Q1Y. Or all these things, it is just rule based. It was working very fine for when the number of inputs are increased, then obviously the rule parameters, the X, Y, Z, it increases like that. So it was working very fine whenever we had n inputs and one output. The summation part, it was not able to, only one output is possible. Yes or no. When we have problem like yes or no, whether disease is there or not. For a problem like this, ANFIS was found to be working fine. But when we go in for problems which needs more than one output, then we landed up in problem with this. We are not able to use this network. I will give one example of a skin disease, where we need 6 outputs. I'll show. So this is the layers of the neuro-fuzzy inference system. With the premise parameter is calculated in layer 1, firing strength is in layer 2, normalization done in layer 3, consequent parameters calculated in layer 4, and we had an output. As I told in MATLAB, if you see, go into ANFIS edit and you will be automatically receiving all these, you'll be seeing this architecture and you will be receiving the each layer output also we can see. So that is the advantage there. So when we went in for problems which had more than one output, this CANFIS architecture was developed. This also we had 5 layers, but obviously you can see that the architecture became more complicated. See, the summation is done here. When we have, because you will be needing more outputs, you will be having problems which need 4 outputs or 6 outputs. So here the summation and the normalization where we do in the layer 3 itself, we will be introducing one more layer which will be summating the required. See, we have to go in for splitting here itself. The splitting is done here itself, and you will be getting the outputs in the output layer. Fine. So it is a complicated version of normal ANFIS which had only one output. Whereas when we use CANFIS, we will be having more than one output. We can increase. I have used 6 output CANFIS for one of the disease diagnosis, what will be seeing later. So, and see, when like parameters of the CANFIS are adjusted by using GA, optimization was done, optimization was done by using GA, and predictions was done. All these learning rate, control parameters, everything was automatically adjusted by using GA. You can very well see that depending on the problem, this is going to change. For all type of disease, will not be having a constant coefficient or as such. So the system has to adapt, it has to change, and then because we are not going to give all the parameters. So that's why we are using GA for optimizing all these parameters. The 9 case studies we have taken was for all these data sets. This is actually one more problem what we are able to see is in India we don't have much data sets that is uploaded in the internet for researchers to use. But if you see in US and all, they are, this is Wisconsin breast cancer database, which has lot of, they have whatever diagnosis they are doing, they are uploading in the net. With see here, they have uploaded the image and they have uploaded the data what they have extracted, that is the attributes, input attributes, what they have got from the images they have uploaded. So researchers like us can easily go and take the data directly or take the image and extract the data from that image and use it for with our model what we are creating, with the model what we are creating. See, this is a cancer database. The attribute from the FNA image, the main attribute that is taken is clump thickness, uniformity of cell size, uniformity of cell shape, marginal adhesion, epithelial cell size, bare nuclei, bland chromatin, normal nuclei, mitosis. These are all the terms they are using. These are the attributes they have taken. So experts have considered these attributes for diagnosing the presence of the cancer. So with these criteria, 9 attributes have been extracted from this image, and we have used this CANFIS, that is the architecture. We need a model that has been developed now. So these are the inputs I have taken for the first case study. This is a standard data set that is available in Wisconsin hospital database, and 9 attributes are defined there. A lot of researchers have already done research in this, and with these 9 attributes, we have worked on it, and we were able to get a positive predicted value of 98.82. So here many people have worked on this already. Way from 2000, a lot of researchers have worked, and the architecture what we have done, CANFIS with the GA, it was giving a positive predictive value. All of you are aware of true positive, false positive, true negative, false negative. No, these are the metrics what we use for analyzing all our medical data set. So we can very well see that from the architecture what we have developed, we are getting a good result. Everybody, and if you use deep learning here, obviously it will give a better result. See here, the way of analysis in this case study, the way of analysis is 9 input attributes are there. From this 9 input attributes, we have directly used a CANFIS and we have taken the output. So positive predicted value was found to be 98.8%. When we use these 9 input, we are able to by using CANFIS, we were able to get a good result. Now, so we the case what we have taken is having just a 9 input attributes. If you consider a case which has more than 9 input attributes, which is having some 64 input attributes. So as I told, there is a possibility that in the input attribute there may be correlation. So those things has to be ignored or removed. So there are a lot of methods available for selection of the input attributes. We have to find the whether any correlation exists in the input attribute. If correlation exists, then remove one. PCA is one of the best option given for us to easily find out the principal component analysis. We can easily find the correlated attributes and remove it. Similarly, entropy, all these things we can use it. Similarly, decision tree, if you construct a decision tree, we can see that like wherever there is see here, these 2 attributes have similar thing. So take one, remove another. Why need to take everything? So, you know, you select some attribute and ignore the attribute which has similarity. We can very well see that lot of attributes are having similarity. In this case, in decision tree, it is easy to build the tree and then remove the unwanted attributes. So similarly, we have lot of other methods, like as I told, PCA, all those things. You select the attributes. See, already 9 attributes we have taken and got the result. But you know, in this case with the decision tree, we have only 4 attributes which are unique. The other attributes are dependent on some other attributes, so we can remove it. So with that in mind, we worked out, and correlation selection, only 4 attributes were selected, and we were able to get a near result. See here, with this Wisconsin database, we found that it is with all inputs, we will be getting the best result. There is no doubt about that. But when we reduce the number of attributes also, we were able to get nearby result. So that was something, you know, like when we have a huge amount of data to be analyzed, it is better we go in for this selection. If we have a small data set, we can take all the inputs and then find the PPV. But when we have a huge amount of data, you know, today big data has come into existence, and we can very well see that when we have all the data with us, it becomes, you know, it takes a lot of our time. We have to sit with the computer hours together to look into what output we are getting. So obviously we have to take care that depending on the quantum of the data we are going to analyze, we will be reducing the inputs. That is the correlated input. That is very important. Whenever there is a correlation, we have to reduce it. So some example what I have taken with PCA, with SOM, with SVM, probabilistic neural network, what output we have got, we have analyzed. So use feature selection if you have many input attributes and you have a huge data set. That is always preferable. One more thing is, you know, like whenever when we get these outputs, we create a model, we get the output, we do some analysis. Statistical analysis becomes very, very important. So with this, I have taken, you know, like obvious null hypothesis, no difference in the means. Statistical analysis have been done, and you know, with the null and alternate hypothesis, we were saying that you know, like whether we have whether if we use dimension reduction technique. Dimension reduction is you reduce the number of attributes in the input which has which shows similarity. With using dimension reduction techniques or without using dimension reduction techniques, and different type of neural network, you know, all different type of neural network has the different methodology of working, and they give different results, as I have shown previously. See here, with all inputs, PCA is giving this, Canvas is giving this, SOM is giving this, SVM is giving. So we can see that they are giving, you know, the variation will be very slight only. So this is the statistical analysis what we have done, and this is the two-way ANOVA of positive predictive value, and we can very well see that F ratio and all these things, and we can prove that alternate hypothesis is the fact. No, it is the fact. When even the slight variation is there for huge data set, it is going to change. So that is about, you know, like the statistical analysis part. Most of us don't do. Whenever we do analysis like this, take care that it is done. You know, for our research papers and all, it is required. And the second case study what I have taken is a mammographic mass database. It is breast imaging reporting, and you can see it in net also. It is developed by Institute of, this person, Dr. Schultz, has collected it from Institute of Gynecological Radiology. from Germany, collected between these years. And it's again a wonderful database which has this training. We have developed this this data set, more than 500 real-time data set with more than 500 training data set we were able to take, and around 1,000 data are there. See here, the training data set accuracy using Canvas I have given. Malignant cases 230. Similarly, the test data, malignant cases 250. These two are different. The whole data set what he has given has been randomly shuffled and converted to training data set and a testing data set. This training and testing, we can take it as 70-30 or 80-20, like that we can split according to our this thing. That is dependent on what we are doing. Maximum they take 70-30, 70% for training and 70% for testing. And the researcher can change it and see how it varies. That becomes a separate analysis part. So this is the result we got for classification accuracy using this adaptive neurophysiology inference system. And we can very well see that most of the data has been properly identified. So with the genetic, this is the specific sensitivity, specificity, and accuracy percentage, much better compared to what is existing already in the literature. And sensitivity, I said it is a metric for classic. This is the true positive divided by true positive plus false negative. And similarly, specificity is Tn by Tn plus T. So we can very well see that we are achieving around 90%. Around we can see it is 90% accuracy. The system is giving 90% accuracy with this data set. This is a benchmark data set. Why we have taken benchmark data set is over a period of time, a lot of research has been done on this. If we collect, we can also collect data from the local hospitals. What result we are giving, the classification accuracy our system is producing. We cannot compare it with the existing one. So that is the reason why benchmark data set has been chosen. So this is the second case study. We can very well see that here it is a problem which has only two classes, whether the person has a cancer or person does not have a cancer. So person has a cancer gives a result 1, the person does not have cancer gives a result 2. This two class problem is very easy to be analyzed. I told about a case study. This is a erythematospermous disease data set which has 6 outputs. See here, all these diseases, all these 6 type of diseases, psoriasis, this dermatitis, lichen, all these diseases, 6 type of diseases has same symptoms. All these 6 diseases have same symptoms, and all these, there is a very slight deviation in the test result that comes out. Easily even a doctor can misinterpret one disease to be another disease. The treatment that is going to be given for the different type of this skin disease is going to be completely different. They come under the same category, and this was really a challenge when this machine learning algorithms are used for diagnosing the correct disease. This is one of the data set which has very specific use for this cancer. So they have 11 clinical features are there. See, you can see the input attributes that is going to be given as 11 clinical attributes, and the remaining all histopathological features. So totally 34 input features has to be given, analyzed, and the person has to be diagnosed with which disease he or she has. So what has happened is analyzing all these features and coming to a conclusion becomes a challenge here. A lot of concentration is required, and minute analysis is required. That's what I would say. Minute analysis is required for finding the specific disease. So what has happened is, this is the place where our machine learning is going to help. Our computer aided diagnosis is helping a lot. See here, we have used 34 features are there. So either you can go in for this PCA or decision tree and analyzer. So for this disease, like you see here, all the samples that has been given to us has been divided into training and testing based on 70-30 percentage. So this many persons have been diagnosed to be having psoriasis, and this 60% with this disease, Lichen planus 71%. So we have used our ANFIS for making this classification. So very well we can see that 55% have found whoever had the disease had been recognized easily. Only 1%, there 1 or 2%. In this case, there are 2%. Here, there is no misclassification. Here also no misclassification. Here there are 3 misclassification. Maybe the data set has less number of samples. Here 1 misclassification. Here all have been diagnosed correctly. So this was one of the main place where we found that our machine learning canvas, our model has worked very fine, and we can very well see that all are giving 90+ sensitivity and specificity over 98. So the diagnosis was found to be much better than what is existing. So this is the comparative analysis. Already the result was worked out by ELIF using the ANFIS model, and a very older model. They have found out it was giving around 80s only. Here, near accuracy. Again, I would like to say here, if more and more data is available with us, we can go in for deep learning. In deep learning, the main advantage is deep learning is capable of doing feature selection as well as classification together. Using the standard deep learning, we can do this feature selection and classification together. And so the advantage is we just pre-process, give the input, it gives the output. And classification accuracy was found to be much better than all other systems. So that is the wonder of deep learning, and why we are all moving towards deep learning. That is the reason. So this analysis also, we can very well see that the model that has been proposed is giving a very good result for this standard data set. See, many type of analysis can be used by using the data set. One is use all the input features, reduce the features by using PCA or decision tree. When you reduce the feature, how much percentage of accuracy you are getting? Are you getting with the same accuracy with the 100% input feature? So this becomes a separate analysis. Lot of researchers are working like that, to understand how our algorithm responds to the number of inputs. And so many methods for analysis is available. And one more method, we have standard data sets. Let us think that it has 10,000 samples. we always divide into some training data set and testing data set. So you take 70% with the 30%, which is the normal thing what we do. Then you decrease it 60% to 40%, and you can increase it to 75% to 25%. Like that, you can do it, and lot of analysis can be done like that also. Similarly, there is something called K-fold classification, where we shuffle the data set regularly, and then you analyze the data, training and testing. There also, variation was found to be there, and it was giving more better result. Predictions are going to be better when we shuffle the data set regularly. Otherwise, we will be standardly using one set for training and another set for testing. When you shuffle it regularly, your results will be much better compared to the others. So these are some of the methodologies where we can do analysis with this machine learning algorithm. The fourth case study what we have taken is Cleveland heart disease data set. Here actually the number of data are less only, but it is again a very standard data set which is analyzed by many researchers. 13 input attributes are there, and it is for analyzing 4 types of heart disease. See here, age, sex, chest pain type is of 4 values. Level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, or a person may not be having a chest pain also. So totally we will be having 5 outputs. So ANFIS does not work here because we cannot have more like 5 value analysis. So we have used the CANFIS model, and we have all the other things are attributes, normal attributes. Chest pain type is only the output what we are having. So we have 5 outputs here. 4 represents the 4 types of heart disease, and the 5th one is the no heart disease. So these are the number of data sets that has been selected for training and testing, and we have used a 50-50 here. This is the distribution of data. Training data set classification results are obviously very high with the training data set. Again tested with the same training data set. Now with the test data set, we have found that we were wrong classification is only 2. So the efficiency of the classification is very high. It is going up to 98%. So this is the simulation result with maximum 98% and the minimum with the testing data set. It is 80%. We are getting this 87.6. So with PCA CANFIS sensitivity part, we can very well see that no heart disease have around 90% sensitivity. With the type 1 heart disease, we achieved around 94%. Type 2 heart disease, 80%. All the results were better than what is existing previously. And as I told, this Cleveland heart disease data set has less number of samples, which was a disadvantage. We cannot use this in deep learning and all. But as I told, it is a data set taken and tested widely. So this is the 4th case study. We can very well see that I have shown just the test and training data set classification with the simulation result. But as I told, with the attribute selection methods, that is the dimensionality reduction, and with different type of analysis with K-fold classification, what we are going to get. If we do that, we will be able to get lot of results, and we can do lot of analysis with it. And the next data set that has been taken is E. coli bacteria data set. And this has 8 classes. This has 8 classes. I mean to say 8 type of E. coli bacteria are there. In the data set that is available, this is the total number of samples that are available for CP class. CP is a E. coli bacteria. This IM is another type. Is we can consider as different. They may be coming under the same category, but they are different states available, types available in this bacteria. So the total data number, IMS and all is only 2. IML is only 2. This is the data that has been captured. And we have used training and test. We have classified it in one more training and less testing we have taken, and we have got some results. Everywhere we can see that, as I told, we can slowly increase the test data set. We say that 70-30, then we try to move into 60-40, even 50-50 we can take and analyze how the results are going to change and make our analysis, which is very important. So, analysis like this will be very useful for making decisions. How much stain is there? I mean, how much types of bacteria have come? If we are able to, we know that today with the COVID around, because new stains coming in, data sets are not left for open access. That is the major problem. Otherwise, researchers like us can take the data and make a lot of analysis. What happens with what are the symptoms, all these things we can make analysis and give some output. All our with machine learning we'll be able to give very good outputs. So this is the classification accuracy that was achieved previously, around 82% using probabilistic neural network. K nearest neighborhood giving around 80%. Ad hoc probability by this Horton and Nakoy, these people only used this data set. They collected the data and they have put it in the net for common use by researchers. So there see the 81% accuracy. With our system we are getting around 90%. We can average it. So around 90% accuracy we were able to. So we can see that with the better systems we will be able to achieve better accuracy with the same data set. When you have just the data alone, we will be doing some pre-processing on the data. That is we can see a lot of big data set that is available as on date in the internet. And whenever we take the data, we clean the data. That is one of the major first step we do. That is, if you see some negative age or negative salary, you have a lot of methodologies to remove all these things. Either you remove if you have a big data, remove the sample itself. That is the advice that is given by previous researchers. But if the number of data are going to be less, what we do is find the average and put it there. So like that we work on that. Otherwise, what happens is the result will be not so much accurate. So what we try to do is, first we have to pre-process the data when data is alone given. But if you are lucky enough to get the data along with the image, what you have used, what they have, the researchers would have used some image for extracting the data. When they give that, you can pre-process the image and then extract the information. So that is what we have done with the first case. I have taken one Wisconsin cancer database. No, in that they have given the image also. So what we have done is, obviously the noise from the image was removed. You have a lot of methods available. Started with the wavelet transform, curvelet transform, all these things, contourlet, then non-sampled contourlet came into existence, and we have removed the noise from the, see, this is the original image used in the transmission, but slowly we remove it, and we find that that there are specific type of noise affecting the different image in the different channels. So in the receiving side, when they receive the image, they will be having noise. That noise has to be pre-processed, and then if you extract the features, obviously what has happened is a lot of with the data that is got from the pre-processed image, we were getting better result. So this is a sample malignant FNA image collected from the University of Wisconsin, and with noisy image, this is the contourlet, this is the wavelet. So we can see that we were able to create a new data set using the same attributes what has been given. And we were, we have used pre-processing, then image edge enhancement algorithms, standard enhancement algorithm for NSVT, and then where background variance and data variance were improved, and then we have seen the result. Finally, see what has been done is just we have taken the data, we have analyzed, and we have got the result. And second, we have got result for the case study. We were lucky enough to get the original image from which the data was extracted. So we have taken the image, we have extracted the same attribute what has been extracted, and we were able to get a slightly better result. See here, the metric used is positive predicted value, and around 1%, not even 1%. It is around 0.4%, 0.4 percentage of ppb higher in this case. Fine. Without image pre-processing, 98.82. With image pre-processing of that FNA image, we were able to get around 99.1. So these type of analysis will be very interesting for the researchers, because future like when we have more and more data to be tested, we can do a lot of data analysis and improve the data. More better computer aided diagnosis can be, even though it is an assisting tool for the doctors, it will be very much helpful for them to make a diagnosis. It is a supportive tool for a diagnosis by the doctors. Otherwise, they have to spend a lot of time on each and every person, which is it is they cannot spend hours together for one patient. Their time is more precious, and definitely with the more and more computer aided diagnosis, doctors will be benefited. They will be able to take their decision in 10 minutes or 15 minutes. So as I said, whenever we write a paper, we have to take care that statistical analysis has been done, and we have found that after doing this pre-processing, the results were found to be slightly better, 0.4 or 0.5, whatever mean it is, it is the results have improved. So even though we see that it is very less, the importance is more. So the challenge, most of us in computer science, we learn the machine learning. We have learned the machine learning. We have used machine learning, and we have to extend our help to the medical professionals. They do not know how to use our systems. What we do not know is the attributes. So if there is a coherence here, lot of things can be achieved for our society. So we have to work more towards it. The innovations in medical and biological engineering, see here, in 1950s, artificial kidney came into existence, cardiac pacemaker came into existence. In 60s, they were looking into ultrasound, blood analysis, processing, etc. No, everything is for the betterment of the human society. In 1970s, the computer-assisted tomography came into existence. That artificial hip, knee replacement, everything was done. In 1980s, MRI came into existence. Lot of laser surgeries came into existence. Vascular grafts came into existence. In present day, genomic sequences came into existence. Positron, PET technique, image guided surgery. We are using it towards the betterment of the society. But everywhere we have to know that whenever things like cloning or replication or creating mutations of viruses, which is becoming dangerous as on day, if things like that are created, we will move into destruction of the society. We have to take care that all our technological improvement should move into betterment of the human society and not towards the destruction. So with the converging technologies, lot of things are going on with IT, with all the nanotechnology, cognitive sciences, material science, biological science, everything is contributing along with our IT. Everything is helping in computer aided surgery systems, active medical devices, artificial organs, etc. So we are moving upwards. We have to take care that society is benefited by whatever we are creating, and lot of things what people need can be done in a simple way, easier way. We should not we are moving towards making the system more and more simple and easier for the people. And with machine learning algorithms, so many things have changed in the world presently. So we always look for betterment of society, better things, and take care that nothing moves in a wrong way. So the future Indian scenario, present day, I would say that there should be collaboration between medical and technical institution, which is happening everywhere. Lot of government fundings on doing this has to help us, and the medical records has to be put in the net. Real medical records has to come out, like in US, UK and all. Only then we will know the exact status, and like a lot of research can be done and analysis can be made. Unless otherwise they give us the records, real records, true records, what we need, it will be difficult to do any research. And whatever new findings, new scientific and clinical findings have been done has to be shared through open source. Only then, people can carry on and then do better analysis. And we have to take care that all the clinical data sets, whatever the hospitals are having, has to come to us and help us in doing better analysis. And all these things will definitely increase the clinical value and decrease the health cost. So electronic medical health records has to come, and everybody should have access. At least the researchers like us should have access, so that we are all benefited by the analysis. And quick and simple analysis can be made by us. This is I'm coming to the end of my session. My sincere thanks to 3 decades of researchers in computational intelligence, and the future awaits, long future awaits for us. Any queries?
Yes, madam. We have two queries here. Participants have posted in the chat box.
Yes, sir.
So I'll just read out them once, madam.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you. So, like one participant is asking, like, are there any tools to generate fuzzy rules automatically?
Yeah, actually, fuzzy rules you can see in MATLAB. As I told you, in this there is a fuzzy logic toolbox. MATLAB, all of us are using. No, there is a fuzzy logic toolbox. Okay,
Okay,
you
ma'am.
can. There are only 5 stages in fuzzy. If you open it and see, only 5 stages will be there. You can see the rule when we give the input and output. You can see the rules that are going to be generated. We can see it using the fuzzy logic toolbox. You can see the rules. That is automatic. It is automatically generating. It is difficult for us to correlate the input and output and create the mapping. Okay, so the fuzzy logic toolbox helps. Similarly, this ANSYS editor, no, in this ANSYS edit, where we are using our neural network as well as the fuzzy together, hybridized ANSYS, we can see the rules also there. I have told now this ANSYS, you have the first stage itself is different rule generation. If this is the case, this will be the output. If this is the case, this will be the output. Definitely, you can see the fuzzy rules using our MATLAB tool. In MATLAB, you can see use fuzzy logic toolbox or ANSYS edit. Just type ANSYS edit. If you put ANSYS edit, you will be seeing the diagram showing the different 5 stages.